It's January 20th, 2019, and we're at the Packard Oaks Farm. Mom and Dad are just going to tell some more Alaska stories.
Well, we talked about walrus hunt and fishing and camping and things. But we didn't show the ulu. The ulu is what the Eskimos use to cut up their fish and their walrus, and they even used reindeer, kind of like we have cows here in Texas, the longhorns, and they herd them on the tundra, and they're not very tame, but they herd them up and bring them in and corral them around a little bit, and then kill them and hang them and cut them up, and it's very fast. The Eskimo women are very fast with the ulu. It's very effective instead of a knife. And the other thing we wanted to talk about is that we had two of the children. We've already talked a little bit about Daphne, who was born in Nome, Alaska, right after we got there. She was already expecting, and we traveled the Alcan Highway in a small car, and then took the airplane on into Nome and ordered a car and got a car there in Nome, a Nash Rambler. And it was right after that she went into labor and went into the Methodist hospital there, and the two doctors that were there as Methodist missionary doctors that took care of the hospital. My office, dental office, was also a part of the hospital, so the three of us pretty much were the doctors for Nome, for the hospital. And
this happened in Halloween of 1963. That it was Halloween, and it was interesting that it was already dark before,
she was born.
Before she was born, and so I was at the hospital giving birth and everything, and Bob was after she was born. He went home, of course, and handed out marshmallows and graham crackers. That's what we had as our trick or treat.
For the trick or treat there, no.
And we didn't have very many that came out because it was snow, it was cold. But anyway, that was our Halloween.
So she was born right on Halloween, and so
excuse me.
we grew up. She was our little spook.
But anyway, she was delivered quite fast and without any assistance, and they had to put her in a double-decker bassinet because the hospital was very little and it was crowded apparently that night. And so anyway, she was put on the second layer of this bassinet while we were in the hospital. And I think we were in the hospital about 2 or 3 days. They kept us longer in those days than they do now. And then I was able to go home after that.
It was at the end of the 2 years that Meredith was born, about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe a month before we were released from the hospital. And so we came out of there. We went to Nome with 2 of you children and came out with 4. Both Daphne and Meredith were born in Nome at that hospital, and it was Dr. Fenstermacher and Dr. Shadler, I think is the doctors.
Yes, right,
And,
right.
They
Daphne weighed 8 pounds 1 ounce. She was our weight-wise. She was the largest of all of the children, and but anyway, just a sweet, just a very easy delivery and everything. And she did very well. Living in Alaska.
we hadn't been back to Virginia to see the family back there with
my family, mom and dad.
during all of dental school, and then the 2 years in Alaska. So it was 6 years before they saw any of our kids with Chad and Todd, which is you, and Daphne and Meredith. So we took back 4 children. That was quite the airplane trip too, taking with a little baby that Mom was carrying, and we had our hands full on the plane because we went first to Boise, wasn't it?
I think so.
And then to Salt Lake.
Portland. We went to Portland.
Yeah, that's right. We went to Portland and then Salt Lake, and
Then we went to California.
well, we ended up in California.
But we went to Virginia to see the folks. And,
Mm-hmm. It was that last leg that was kind of bad. From Chicago to I think Princeton Airport there, and then
West Virginia.
West Virginia, yeah, and then we after we visited her family, I can't remember where we stayed when we were in Virginia.
Oh, at the home, honey. We stayed right there in the home.
Where?
The house in
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah,
Mountain Lake.
yeah. What bedroom would it be? I just can't
Well,
imagine it.
And we were there.
Yeah, I don't know how many days we stayed, but anyway, we from that spot we flew directly to California because I was accepted into the orthodontic program at Loma Linda University, which I'd like to talk about.